Hi, my name is Miss Kate, and welcome to Fine Motor Friday. We have a puppy here today, so I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are doing well too. Hopefully this video is going to be super quick. What I'm going to talk about today is preschool scissor skills. What we can do with scissors, how we're supposed to hold them, and then activities we can do if we're not quite ready for scissors yet. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so first let's start with positioning. How do we hold the scissors correctly? We have the smaller hole on top. So I just have some typical scissors. Some of the ones that we see in preschool sometimes have a little lever in between here, so it's easy open, and then the child just has to squeeze. So I'm not sure what you have at home or what your child has used with your teacher. You may want to touch base with them about what experience they have with scissors, if this is new. But for the purposes of today's video, I will be using these. So the small hole on top is where our thumb goes, then the larger hole on the bottom is where the rest of the fingers go. Something that we want to remind the kids is to keep their thumb pointing up in the air. So not turning to the side, because then it doesn't cut as nicely. Thumb up, elbow into the side. Sometimes when my friends have a hard time remembering where their thumb is supposed to be pointing, I will take a little sticker. I have Woody from Toy Story, and I'll just put it on their finger, and our finger needs to point up. If you can't see Woody, Woody can't see you, and our cutting's not going to work so well. So that is the positioning that we want. Thumb up in the air, arm in. Okay. So for preschool scissor skills, we often start with snipping. So you can see just snipping a short little line. One of the things that I will say is if you're making your child snipping activities at home, what I often see is that people will grab a pen or a pencil or whatever's nearby, and I just want to point out that, you know, while we can snip on a pen or a pencil line, that can be a lot harder for our students, and I would recommend considering, you know, using a marker. This one's pretty small, but you can use you know, a wider tip like this to do a thicker line, just so it's a little bit easier. So I've just made that line a little bit more bold, right? So you can do varying thicknesses, and that way it can be a little bit harder over time. But I would just say if we were working on snipping in preschool, right, we start with snipping, and I would go on the line. My thumb is pointing up in the air, my elbow is in, and snip, or you could say, and squeeze. And that would be a place that we start. After we finish working on snipping, the children then move to cutting straight lines. And if your child isn't cutting straight lines right now, or they haven't used scissors before, you know, don't worry. I know a lot of people tend to think, ooh, sharp objects in my tiny child. I don't know about that. Don't worry, there's other ways where we can build scissor skills where we aren't actually using scissors, or we aren't using metal sharp scissors. And I'll go over that in just a little bit. Oh, my friend DW has fallen over, so I'll fix her. What I am making right now, I don't think you can see. Let's see, I don't need that. I am just making a half sheet, because once we go from snipping, we can move on to cutting a straight line, but a whole page is kind of a lot, so I would just give a half sheet, and I would give a nice thick line. And again, we want to make sure that we have our thumb in the air, elbow in, and squeeze, squeeze. And when we are cutting things other than well, when we're cutting anything, we use our helper hand. It's the same thing with writing. We have a helper hand and a working hand. Our helper hand adjusts as we're cutting, so we don't cut ourselves, and we're able to stay on the line better. And this is an important thing to learn, just because as we move further down the line, and I have a video about scissor skills for kindergarten, and that's when they really start doing shapes. You know, knowing which hand's your helper hand and what their job is. And the job is to adjust the paper so that we can comfortably cut around and we don't have to go awkward angles, and we're just safer that way. So I think that's what I'd like to show for scissor skills for preschool. If you aren't comfortable with your child using metal scissors, no worries. Another option for us is Play-Doh. Play-Doh has plastic scissors, which I don't have here, but one of the ways that we can work on scissor skills with Play-Doh is rolling out Play-Doh snakes and cutting them. I don't have those little plastic scissors that they have in the Play-Doh kits, but you're welcome to use those. Hand over hand is always a good place to start if we're new to scissors, especially if we're using the actual scissors and we're worried about safety, which is why all these activities that we always do together, we do with an adult. Okay, so I have my Play-Doh and I've rolled it out into a snake. And again, I'm using my helper hand to hold it still, and then snip, snip. And you can say, we can use our imaginations. We could say it's a snake, we can say it's a caterpillar. And if you're doing a caterpillar, I think we talked about this before, you can go along and pinch, pinch, pinch. And we can actually snip where we've pinched, right? Snip in between pinches. Make sure we're holding it nicely, adjusting with our helper hand. Let's see, I'm gonna pinch, 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 and I'm gonna keep going. And this time I'm gonna adjust my hand when I need to. Make sure I don't put my fingers in any awkward positions. And there we go, we worked on scissor skills with Play-Doh, which can also be more fun if our child isn't as comfortable with paper skills just yet. It's a good place to start. If your child is already cutting straight lines really well, I think the next step is zigzag lines and then curved lines. And then if they're beyond that and they're already working on shapes, then ask your teacher for my kinder video where we start talking about how we cut, say, a triangle or a circle. But I think that the point of today's video is just to be really brief and say correct positioning. So thumb up, hands in the right holes, and then we want to work on snipping as the first step. And if we aren't comfortable with that, that's okay. You can always use the Play-Doh scissors, or you can show them how to cut Play-Doh, right? We can start from there. Anyway, this is just a video to show you some of the different skills that the kids work on in preschool. Scissor skills are something that sometimes people aren't super comfortable starting off with. So I thought I would make a video about what the correct positioning was and how we work on that. If you have any questions or any concerns, please contact your teacher. Again, if you're making a snipping line for your child, I would just say, let's be generous and do a thicker line if they're just starting off. And hand over hand is a great way to learn. And again, if we're not comfortable or not safe using scissors, then working with Play-Doh. All right, I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. Have a great weekend. Bye.